Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're back to talking about Danny Masterson. The last time I made a video about him was quite a while ago, and frankly I kind of expected nothing to come out of the accusations against him because, and we'll recap everything in case you don't remember, in case you hadn't heard, but Danny Masterson, or Hyde from that 70s show, was accused of raping multiple women. The reason why myself and a lot of other people really didn't think anything would come of it is because Danny Masterson is part of the cult that is Scientology, and as we well know, people who are involved in Scientology very rarely face the consequences of their own actions, and therefore I kind of was expecting him to follow that same fate. However, there is a positive update, and I say positive with many quotation marks because the positive would have been if none of this happened in the first place, but for once it seems like someone in Scientology is getting repercussions for their shitty actions, which are crimes. So I'll link the article down below. Danny Masterson, convicted on 2 counts of forcible rape, faces 30 years in prison. Danny Masterson, the former star of that 70s show, was convicted Wednesday on 2 counts of forcible rape. The jury could not reach a verdict on a third rape charge, deadlocking with a vote of 8-4 in favor of conviction. Masterson faces a potential sentence of 30 years to life in prison on the 2 charges. Shortly after the clerk read the guilty verdicts, there was an audible gasp from Masterson's family, who were seated in the audience. Masterson was accused of raping 3 women at his Hollywood Hills home between 2001 and 2003. The jury convicted him of raping 2 women in 2003, but could not reach a verdict on an allegation from November 2001 involving a former girlfriend. After the verdict was read, Masterson was handcuffed and taken into custody. Judge Olmedo denied a defense request that he remain free until sentencing. A hearing was set for August 4th. Masterson's wife, Bijou Phillips, was seen sobbing in the front row of the audience. One of the victims, known in court as Jane Doe 2, issued a statement expressing the relief that Masterson was convicted. She also referred to a pending civil case in which she and the other accusers have sued Masterson and the Church of Scientology for harassment and stalking. So let's focus on the fact that these accusations are from 2003 and 2001. I don't know what I could say to possibly encapsulate my purest form of disgust. It's been over 20 years for one of those Jane Does. It is so unfathomable to me, and I know this happens often. I know this is not the first time in history ever. But every time I see it, I still stop in my tracks because I really don't know how it is that someone can be accused by multiple people and it seems like no one even cares to look. Now granted, like I said before, the Church of Scientology is notorious for getting away with all this type of fuckery. That's why I'm glad that Scientology is being brought into this. Now, there were some people in the comments on Twitter who were saying that Scientology basically kind of gave Masterson over, like they handed him over in the sense of they were like, this guy's not worth protecting anymore, which frankly sounds a little bit cartoonish when you think of it, but it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case, because I think had this happened to, say, oh, I don't know, Tom Cruise, then it would have been a different story. For Danny Masterson, I don't know if they're going to put out their neck like that more than they already have to protect him from his own actions, I guess we would say. I truly am consistently in disbelief that Scientology is still, I don't know if I'd say alive and well, but they're definitely alive and unwell. I'm down with the 30 years in prison though. I hope that he does get the 30 years in prison. Let me just say that. So this is the statement from Jane Doe 2. I'm experiencing a complex array of emotions: relief, exhaustion, strength, sadness, knowing that my abuser, Danny Masterson, will face accountability for his criminal behavior, she said. I am disappointed that he was not convicted on all counts, but take great solace in the fact that he, the Church of Scientology, and others will have to fully account for their abhorrent actions in civil court. Masterson's former girlfriend, Jane Doe 3, said in a statement that she was devastated that he has dodged criminal accountability for his heinous conduct against me. She said she was determined to seek justice in civil court, where she said 3 women will shine a light on how Scientology and other conspirators enabled and sought to cover up Masterson's monstrous behavior. Los Angeles DA George Gascon thanked the jury for its service and praised the women for coming forward. Their courage and strength have been an inspiration to us all, he said. While we are disappointed the jury did not convict on all counts, we respect their decision. Masterson's first trial ended in November, with a hung jury, with the majority voting to acquit on all 3 charges. The case has shined a light on the teachings of Scientology, of which Masterson is a lifelong member. All 3 alleged victims were members at the time of the alleged assaults and have since left the church. They have also said that the church dissuaded them from reporting Masterson, a prominent church member, thanks to his acting success, to the police. In closing arguments, prosecutor Errol Anson argued that Masterson had taken advantage of his position as an upstart in the church to rape the victims without fear of repercussion. Like all predators, the defendant carefully sought out his prey, Anson argued. The church taught his victims that rape isn't rape, that you caused this, and that above all, you aren't allowed to go to law enforcement. What better hunting ground? In Scientology, the defendant is a celebrity and he's untouchable. Defense attorney Philip Cohen argued that the prosecution invoked Scientology as a way to distract from inconsistencies in the victim's testimony. Why have we heard so much about Scientology? Cohen asked. Could it be there's problems otherwise with the government's case? I am entirely for due process. I don't think you should just name drop in order to get some kind of result. I think most people would agree with that. I think that's a rational thought process. You can let me know if you disagree. That being said, how are you going to separate all of this from Scientology? Scientology has become more and more notorious as the years have gone by for their fucked up practices. And those fucked up practices aren't just little quirks. They're ways of being that they impose on their members that are not okay. We've seen it before. If you've seen any of the documentaries about Scientology, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the way in which people are treated, women especially, children, is fucked up from the get-go. The amount of manipulation, the amount of control is unparalleled in this current context. To act like Scientology has nothing to do with this is actually crazy to me, because Scientology is a big part of, I think, why this stayed under the rug so long. And I also think that Scientology is a big part of why all of this is evolving so slowly. These victims weren't speaking up also because of the teachings of Scientology that say that rape isn't rape. So, I mean, how are you really going to say Scientology is just being randomly brought up? Especially if the alleged rapist is in fact a member of Scientology, and Scientology, this I don't even think is much of an opinion as much as a fact, covers for a lot of their higher up celebrities, I guess, if you want to call Danny Masterson that. Are we really going to not count that in? Because I think it would also be convenient to just count out Scientology, because Scientology is a big part of why things are the way they are right now in this case. Scientology was also a prominent feature of the first trial. The major difference between the 2 trials related to the allegation of drugging. In the first trial, the women testified they felt weak or woozy and had little memory after taking a drink prepared by Masterson. But prosecutors did not overtly claim that Masterson had put something in the drink to disable the women. In the trial, the prosecution changed course, arguing that Masterson had in fact drugged the women. They were all drugged, Anson argued. The defendant drugs his victims to be in control. He does this to take away the victim's ability to consent. This is not about consent. This is not about defendant misunderstandings, these victim signals. When he drugs them, he's able to completely physically control them. You don't want to have sex? You don't have a choice. The defendant makes that choice for these victims, and he does it over and over and over again. Cohen countered that there is no evidence, such as toxicology report, that would substantiate the drugging allegation. He also noted that there was no reference to drugs in the actual charges. This is not a drugging case, Cohen said. There is no tangible evidence of it. One of the women reported Masterson to the LAPD in 2004, but prosecutors opted not to file charges. The case was revived in 2016 after the 3 women found each other and went to law enforcement together. Prosecutors were able to file the charge under a one-strike sex crimes law that extends the statute of limitations for multiple forcible rapes. Cohen argued that the women had tweaked their stories to fit a narrative of rape after meeting each other and discussing the case. A woman has an absolute right to say no, Cohen argued, but the no comes 16, 17 years later. That's a very, very scary scenario. I don't know if they said no. That being said, if they were effectively drugged, not saying no doesn't equal yes. So this whole argument or hypothetical argument, I don't really understand what he's going for, because really you're saying that they didn't say no, which to me doesn't equate to he didn't rape them. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if those are some lawyerings that I don't understand, but to me that sounds very much like, yeah, it's fine because they didn't say no, but you're really kind of addressing that he did still do things that they didn't want. They just happened to not say no. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, I think he deserves the 30 years. if not more, because like we said, one of the victims' accounts weren't really brought up here as much from what we can understand from the limited information we have. Regardless, I'm glad that at least something is happening, some kind of repercussion is happening, but I really do think that it's crazy that this all took 20 years. And even in terms of a toxicology report, it's counterintuitive to even bring that up, in my opinion. I don't know how shock works, but also if you're in shock about what happened, I've known people that things have happened to you, they didn't even realize that they were drugged until later, especially if alcohol is involved as well. They might have thought that they were drunk or tipsy or whatever out of their own doing. So it's so beside the point by now. Because of the lag and the lack of seriousness, the police and the judicial system really attributed to this case, but I'm gonna stop going off. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.